What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé the Other Way, Season 4, Episode 8. For every joy, there is a price to be paid. Let's start off with Mahmoud and Nicole. So when their segment starts, we see them in a heated argument in the middle of the street, and it was sort of confusing because the last time that we saw Nicole and Mahmoud, they were sitting in Mahmoud's uncle's living room, and it seems like they were having a very productive conversation about the clothing industry and the business that they wanted to start. And even though Nicole was brewing underneath because he had just gotten into an argument before they arrived at the uncle's house, it appeared that everything was going well. So I thought maybe something triggered her at the uncle's house and she stormed out and he followed her out and they were arguing, or they were on their way home and they began arguing. It's like it didn't make any sense. So coming to find out, this is a completely different day. It is not the day of when they went to the uncle's house. It's a brand new argument. And so they rewind to 5 hours earlier to catch us up to speed as far as how they got to where they are. So 5 hours earlier, everything starts off very peacefully. In fact, Mahmoud is teaching Nicole how to pray. So he's teaching her all the different steps and the process that goes into the prayer, how first you have to start off with wudu, which is cleansing of the body before you pray, and then the prayer itself. And while they're kneeling on the ground, he is reciting the prayer in his own language, and this is just melting Nicole, and she's realizing all the reasons why she fell in love with Mahmoud in the first place, because she loves to hear his voice when he is reciting the prayer in his native tongue. And so everything is going fine. They even joke about her wearing a bikini because they're planning on going to the swimming pool. And so she makes a joke about, I'm going to wear a bikini, and they laugh it off. And then she goes to get her modest bathing suit, and she asks him if she has to wear something underneath her modest bathing suit. And I don't know why this triggered Mahmoud. I'm still very confused, but this got him upset because his mood completely changed. He got really closed off, and he gets up and he walks away, and he's like, I don't know, like answering her question as far as if she has to wear anything underneath. He's like, I don't know. And so she follows him, and she's like, what is wrong? Like, what happened? What's wrong? And he refuses to say exactly what happened. So then the next time that we see them, they're actually at the pool. She changes into her modest bathing suit and she walks out. The only thing she didn't do was she didn't wear the head covering, which was attached to the bathing suit. She refuses to wear the head covering because, Nicole is only going to give you so much, to kind of, she'll get along to get along. She'll play along to get along, but then she's not going to give you that final last inch. So she's not going to wear the head covering. So she comes out, and I thought Mahmoud was going to make a big deal about her not wearing the head covering, but he didn't. In fact, he complimented her. He said that she looked really, really nice, and he seemed really happy. So they get in the pool, and, they're having a good time in the pool, and they're having a conversation about their relationship. And he acknowledges that Nicole has made a lot of sacrifices to move to Egypt, to be with him, to try to make this marriage work. He acknowledges that she gave up so much in America just to come to Egypt to be with him, etc., etc., etc. And it's like, okay, this is a very positive moment. He is affirming what she's given up. And then she says in turn that what we need to work on in our relationship is that we have to find a compromise, because it can't be your way all the time. You have to compromise. Both of us are going to have to give up a little to get a little. And it seems like he is receiving the information. He's understanding. And, I think that there was just a little bit of something in their conversation when it came to what he was going to compromise on, but they didn't get too deep into it. So the next time that we see them, they are in a full-blown argument outside in the middle of the street, and she is trying to get away from him. He is following her. He's trying to get her to stop. She's telling him, I don't want to talk to you right now. He keeps asking her, what did I do? What did I do? What did I say? And it's like, what happened? Because the last time we saw you two, y'all were having a grand old time in the swimming pool. So she explains to us that while the cameras were not there, Mahmoud, his mood had changed again. Okay, maybe because of the head covering, but his mood had changed again. And so when she asked him what was wrong, his response was something to the effect of, as if you care. And that's what started it. So They get to arguing. She's walking away from him. He's trying to catch up to her. And he's like, what did I do? What did I do? What did I say to make you mad? And she's refusing to answer. She just wants to get away from him. It even got to a point where he was trying to grab her wrist to keep her from walking away. And she was like, let go of me. And she just wants to get away from him. So he's like, fine, go. You can just leave. And she keeps on walking, and he's standing there, and he says something like, if an Egyptian wife would never do something like this. Okay, so Mahmoud, you know what it is. So why don't you let this relationship go, file for the divorce, and get an Egyptian wife? And Nicole, why don't you just come back to the United States and do whatever the hell you want to do? Because this much, how can people not even be aware of how much they're arguing and how counterproductive it is, and how this eventually, not only does it affect the two of y'all's relationship, it affects your moods, it can even affect your health, to be in such a contentious relationship where all you do is argue. And what I think is so funny is that they say the sweetest words to one another. They have the sweetest little pet names for one another. My love, my sweetness, my this, my that. Okay, my love. Okay, my love. Yes, my love. But then they argue like cats and dogs. They argue as if they hate each other. But then they call each other such endearing names. It's like very confusing to me. So they continue to argue. I think he ended up getting an Uber. There was a scene where she goes back into, I don't know if this was like a hotel. She goes back into the hotel lobby. He follows her in there, and he tells her, come on, let's go. And she says, no, I'm not going anywhere with you. And then he says, if you are not in that Uber within 5 minutes with me, I'm going to get a divorce. And she's like, get out of here. I don't care. And he leaves. And so he walks away. He gets into his Uber. I think she stayed there. I don't know what is going on with these people, but the only thing that I do know for sure is that they don't need to be together. There is no hope for this. They're like oil and water. Their personalities are just not gelling. This is not a good relationship. Nicole might thrive on her own. She might thrive with someone else, but she is definitely not thriving with Mahmoud, and vice versa. She even made a comment about, he's 9 years younger than me, and I'm tired of him telling me what to do. And it stops now. No, this is just not going to work. Nicole, you're such a free spirit. She talks about how she had been single for 10 years before meeting Mahmoud. And now you come from being single, doing what you want, being extremely independent, being a free bird. And now you're in the most restrictive culture out there. You are told not only what to do and not do, but you're told how to dress. You're told how your clothes are supposed to look on you. I don't understand how Nicole found herself in this situation. Mahmoud, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. There's nothing wrong with Mahmoud, but I don't understand what was it about him that got her to the point where she was willing to give up her independence and her freedom to be with him, because she knew what it was. You cannot tell me that in this day and age, somebody will go to a dominantly Muslim country and think that they're going to continue living as if they were in LA. There's no way that anybody thinks that. So I don't know if Nicole thought that, well, I'm going to go to Egypt. I'm going to be with my Egyptian husband, but I'm still going to be able to wear my, my string bikinis at the beach. And I'm still going to be able to walk around in my Daisy Duke shorts and, walk around with no head covering and do what I want and say what I want. If she really truly thought that, then she needs to be institutionalized, because nobody in this day and age is thinking that they can live like that in a Muslim country. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about Jamie and Chris. It's the 5th day in Colombia, and it's also the anniversary of when they met. So for the moment, Chris says to Jamie that she doesn't have to return to Alabama for her court case for the moment. It might change in the future, but for now, she doesn't have to return to Alabama, which means that their wedding is still on. So they decide to go glamping, which is camping, but it's very, you're like in this huge tent, very spacious tent. And you have all the amenities. So you're not like roughing it out there in the woods. So you're in this beautiful tent, and you can still be at one with nature, but you have have all the modern amenities. So while they're there, Jamie decides to propose to her again. And when, because not Jamie, Chris, sorry, Chris decides to propose to Jamie again. And while Jamie was dealing with the front desk, Chris was getting the tent all pretty with the rose petals and all this stuff to make it all romantic. So when Jamie comes in, Chris gets down on one knee, and Jamie was a little bit confused, like, what are you doing? What's going on? And she has spelled out the words "marry me" in red rose petals on the bed. So she made Jamie read it, and of course, Jamie accepted. She said yes, but they are already engaged, and so that's why Jamie was kind of like confused, like, why are you doing this again? But Chris just wanted to give her a very formal proposal. That's all that it was. So while they're having dinner, they're talking about their wedding, and Chris tells her that her daughter Star is going to be joining them for the wedding. And so Chris then asks Jamie, do you have any family members that are going to be coming to the wedding? And Jamie, all of a sudden, her mood just completely falls, and she's like, no one's going to be coming from my family, because my family doesn't know that I'm gay, and yeah, I'm not out with my family yet, so no one's going to be coming to their wedding. And I'm just like, in real life, like, side note, in real life, off the record, how do people do this? Your family has no idea that you're gay, but you sign up for a show that's all about your gay relationship and your soon to be gay marriage. Like, how then do you break it to your family that not only are you gay, but you're going to be on a show where everyone is going to, see this? Like, how do you break that to your family that's supposed to be very, very conservative? It's just really weird to me how people live their lives, because I would think that I would want my family to know before I even got on the show, just in case they find out by accident, or just in case they're not cool with me just putting it all out there on a international stage. I don't know, but her family don't know, and she's about to get married, but most likely her family won't be there. Well, we'll see how that works out. Moving on to Danielle and Johan. So Danielle is back in New York, and she is trying to finish up school, trying to get all her affairs in order. She's going to start packing up, giving up her key to her apartment, because she is planning on moving to the DR permanently. She has a lot to do. When I saw how much she had to pack the day before she was supposed to clean out her apartment and give up her key, I felt so extremely anxious. It got me feeling very overwhelmed, but somehow she did it. And so anyway, she packs up all her stuff, and as she's driving to the airport, or as she's being driven to the airport, she's reflecting on all the things that she's leaving behind in New York. She's going to be leaving behind the community that she built, I guess, her community of friends. She's going to be giving up a 19-year teaching career. Danielle was a high school teacher, and when I see how small she is, I'm like, girl, you were in New York City working as a high school teacher, with these kids being as rebellious as they are nowadays. How did you do it? Because I know that even like the smallest student probably still towered over her. Like, how did you keep your authority in a New York City, I'm assuming public school, high school at that? You being as small as you are, how did you keep your authority, girl? But anyways, so she's leaving behind her career, her friends, her family, her bankruptcy. But she says she's moving towards love. So that's going to be all worth it. So when she gets to the DR, she's at the airport. And once again, this is like the third time that we have seen a Danielle and Johan reunion. I'm not complaining. I'm just making an observation. Like, how many times are we going to see, this big, tall tree trunk of a man pick up this little tiny miniature woman, where she's got to wrap her legs around his back and all of this. I mean, how many times are we going to see this? So they reunite. It's all wonderful. And Johan has found them an apartment. So he's been very productive while she's been gone, which we all know, an apartment that she's paying for 100%. But he found them an apartment, and he knows how picky and demanding that she is. So hopefully she'll like the apartment. And so now we have the suitcase problem. She shows up with 10 full-size suitcases. And she tells us that she didn't tell Johan that she was coming with so many suitcases, because he should have known that she was moving her whole life to the DR, so he should have known to bring a bigger car. That sounds so asinine to me. That sounds so asinine. I think it's just been, number one, common courtesy to let the person know who's coming to pick you up, hey, I'm going to be coming with a ton of luggage. So if you can, if it's possible, make sure that you have a vehicle that's equipped for us to put all this luggage in. And then it's just like, to me, it's just normal human decency to have that in your, to talk about that. Like, how are you going to come there with 10 suitcases and not mention it to the person that's picking you up? I don't know how, that doesn't make any sense to me. But she says he should have known. So he shows up in a little tiny, I don't know what it was, a little Honda, a little Hyundai. I have no idea what it was, but it was a very small car. And they have to put like, I think it was like 4 suitcases on top, on the roof of the car. So she says, because she doesn't trust his driving, she wants to drive. And he's like, no, I'm going to drive. I put the suitcases up there. I know the work that I did in putting up those suitcases, so I'll know how to maneuver the vehicle better. And she goes, well, I've got 25 years of driving experience on your 1 year. And he's like, it's got nothing to do with experience. I know how to drive. I'm going to drive. So they're going back and forth, back and forth. And she tells us that his real issue is that Johan doesn't want to be seen by people that he may know, or people that he may not know, just people in general. He doesn't want to be seen in a car that's driven by a woman. So while they're in the car, so she lets him drive. While they're in the car and they're driving to the hotel, I'm assuming, they're having a conversation about gender norms. And she says that he's from a very, the DR is very traditional as far as, it's a very patriarchal society. Women are very passive or submissive in the DR. And so, you listen to your man, basically. And so he tries to school her. He's like, you know what? I don't know who the hell you think you are or where the hell you think you're coming from, but over here in the DR, the men run the show. You need to listen to me and obey me. And so she's like, well, who do you think you are fooling with? Because you should know, dealing with me, you should know that I'm not about these gender norms. I'm a very strong, independent woman. I don't give a damn about what a man has to say, what a man thinks, what a man does. I'm going to do what I want to do. And you need to just, pay attention. So that's another contention of theirs. It's like, okay, exactly who's going to be the more dominant one in the relationship? I would think that they can both be a little bit more elevated and just be like, neither one is going to be dominant. We're just going to work it out and we're going to compromise. In some situations, I'm going to make the decision. In some situations, you're going to make the decisions. And let's just go from there. But honey, one of them has to be in charge. One of them has to be in power. Good luck with all of that. Moving on to Gabriel and Isabel. So Gabriel and Isabel, this is the night, I guess, their first night at Isabel's parents' house. And they're having a conversation about telling her parents that Gabriel is trans. And situations like that are so heavy and so important, I don't know how they could have slept through the night. I wouldn't have been able to. I would have been like, you know what? That would have been the topic at dinner for me, to tell you the truth. Maybe after the kids ate, some of the kids about their way, and I would have dealt with it head on as soon as possible, because I cannot let something that heavy that is causing me so much anxiety I just can't just set it aside until the next day. I couldn't do it. I would have had that conversation immediately about the fact that I was trans and go from there. But for some reason, they wanted to wait until the next day. So the night before, they're having a conversation about it, and Gabriel asks Isabel, well, if your parents make you choose between them and me, who are you going to choose? And she says, I don't know, no say. And Gabriel didn't like that, because Gabriel wanted her to choose him, because he sacrificed so much to come to Colombia to start this new life with her, to marry her, to be with her forever. So what are you talking about? You don't know. I went through a lot to be here with you. You need to choose me. But Isabel's like, I don't know. So then the next day comes, they go horseback riding with her parents. After they do that, they sit down for coffee. And this is when it all begins. I mean, my heart was pounding so hard, and I'm not even involved. I'm just watching this for entertainment. And like, my heart was racing. I was feeling so anxious. And, so Gabriel starts off, and he uses the translator to make sure that he is clearly understood. He uses his translator, and he says, I have something very important to tell you. I've been keeping a really big secret. And I was looking at the parents, and the parents probably thought, this was my guess, the parents probably thought that Isabel was pregnant, because that's what I would be thinking, because I would think there's nothing more important than that. Like what else could it be other than Isabel's pregnant and y'all aren't married yet? So he tells them that he was born female and he's been living as a man for the past 10 years. And so he is a trans man. And that's where it ends. Their segment ends. And when they showed us the clip for next week, the father is asking Gabriel, so tell us the story. I want to hear the full story of this. I don't know. I just have a feeling that the parents, they're going to be okay with it. They're not going to love it. They're not going to be like, yay, our daughter's with the trans man. No, but I think that they're going to accept it because they have so much love for their daughter. I really do think that they're going to accept them being together, and they're not going to make Isabel choose, and they're not going to make Isabel break up. And the reason why I think that is because there's just something about the parents that makes me think that even as conservative and as religious as they are, and I think that the show played up that conservative side and that religious side, they really played it up a lot to make it seem as if they would not accept Gabriel being trans, because that adds a lot of suspension, a lot of suspense to the show. But because they played up the conservatism, the religious aspect, they played it up so much, and because they're dragging it out so long, I think that they're going to be okay with it. I think that all of this stuff that leads up to the parents finding out is just for dramatic purposes. So yeah, I think they're going to be fine. And if they're not, I'll be here to talk about it. Moving on to Debbie and Osama. So it's the morning after their fight, and they're having a conversation about their fight and exactly what happened. And Osama says that there was a miscommunication. Something was lost in translation with them, because he says that, Debbie, I swear to God, I thought you told me that you were only going to be here for a couple of months because you said that you would have to go back to America to finish or to deal with some business stuff. And Debbie's like, I never told you that. How could you not know that I was moving here permanently? And that's my damn question. How did this get lost in translation? That she was coming to live permanently in Morocco and that she had an expectation of getting married. And I'm like, how did this happen? Like, I don't understand how there was any kind of misunderstanding in something so important and so big as her leaving behind her life in Alabama to come live with him in Morocco. But that's what he claims. And she says that she felt very deceived when he told her that, I didn't tell you that you were going to be going back. I think that's the part that he lied about. He says, I didn't tell you that I expected you to go back, because then you would never have come. And so she thought that was very deceitful of him to do that. And so she says, now I'm going to have to try to trust you all over again because you broke my trust, Osama. You broke my trust. And so, yeah, they're going to work on that. And so now Debbie says to him, now we are going to be 100% transparent with one another. We're going to talk about everything in great detail. We're going to talk about the logistics of everything because we need to be on the same page. We cannot have a misunderstanding like this happen again. So then they go to the beach. And as they're sitting on the beach, a guy walks by with a camel. And so Debbie's like, oh my God, I want to ride the camel. So they get on the camel. They're having a good time on the camel. And it was just a break from all the seriousness that we've been dealing with. And it was just a fun scene to watch, to see Debbie and Osama having a great time on this damn camel. Debbie squealing like a little girl and just really living life and enjoying herself. And after the camel ride, she asked him, were you embarrassed by my behavior? And Osama was like, no, I love it when you act like that. I love it when you let yourself go. I love that crazy, wild inner child of yours. And this is why I love you. This is why I love you, Debbie, is because you're so free. You're so crazy. You're so strangely beautiful, or beautifully strange, or whatever their little term is. And so, she likes that because she says, you know what, here we get a lot of people looking at us crazy. And so it's nice that he doesn't care. And he says to her, if I cared about these other people they're not going to be there for me when I'm in, dire need of help or assistance. If I need medical help or whatever, if I'm in trouble, I'm not going to go to these strangers for help. I'm going to go to you. I'm going to go to my family, the people that count, the people that I care about. So I don't give a damn. I don't give two damns about what anybody else has to say or think. I don't care about people staring at us. I'm happy to be with you, and I love you, and I want to be with you, and that's that. So this was a positive episode for Debbie and Osama. Let's just hope that it stays that way. Moving on to Jen and Rishi. So Jen is going back to the U.S. She's going to have to apply for her visa all over again. And I hope this time she's going to apply for a damn spousal visa and not some tourist visa, because evidently she cannot read the tourist visa application properly. So before she leaves for the airport, Rishi says that he has a surprise for her. So he takes her out to the middle of the street and he gets down on one knee and he proposes to her and he gives her another ring. So Jen was like, oh, this is a wonderful surprise. But on her way to the airport, she feels like that the other shoe's going to drop. She feels like there's something that is going to get in the way of them being together. I don't know why she's so pessimistic. So she's back in the United States and she's, I don't know if it was what meal it was. They're having some type of a meal at the table, and she's telling her family, which consists of her mother, her brother, and her sister-in-law. And so she's explaining to them all the stuff that she went through in India. She had a great time in India with Rishi, and she talks about how the fact that Rishi never told his family that he was engaged to her, and never told her that his family was looking for a wife for him. They were looking for an arranged marriage for him. So this does not sit well with the brother at all. So the brother asked her, why wouldn't he tell you that his family was looking for a bride for him? And she says, well, because he didn't want to lose me. And the brother was like, I call it BS. I don't believe it. I don't believe that at all. So the brother's not buying it. The brother thinks that when Rishi proposed to her again, the brother thinks that was just a delay tactic to delay actually getting married to Jen, because the brother says the next step, the next natural course of action would be for them to get married, not to get re-engaged. They need to make plans for an actual wedding. So the family doesn't believe anything that Rishi has to say, anything that Rishi has promised Jen, even the fact that he told her that he was going to be moving out of his family home. The mother says for him to not live with his family, yeah, I don't buy that, because it is such a tradition of theirs for them to all live together in one home. That is what they do. That's the only thing that they know. So I don't think he's ever going to leave his family to live separately and independently with you. And so the brother says, I'm really concerned that you're going to have your heart broken, sis. So we'll just have to wait and see. So, the next, they showed us a preview of the next episode and it didn't look too good. Her friend contacts her and tells her, hey, Rishi sent me a topless picture of himself. So what you want to do about that? So I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I think that so far Rishi has played too many games with Jen, that there are too many red flags. And, I think she needs to let this one go, but we'll wait and see how it all works out. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate you spending your time with me. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.